Hi everyone, this is Jane. We are live for World Africa Day of Play. This is an amazing event showcasing African games and creators. So I'm a games journalist, content creator. I am the founder of a French community called Afro Gamers, and I am obviously your host for today as well. I am so delighted actually to start this discussion, which is going to be about growing as esports and gaming creators in Africa. And we have three beautiful people to talk about all of this with. So we have Cholwe, who is the director at Team J Matrix. Hello, Cholwe.
Hi, everyone.
We also have Sylvia, aka the Queen Arrow. Sylvia, who's an esports athlete. She's a Tekken player. She is a champion. We're so lucky to have you. You're also based in Kenya. So hello, Sylvia. And Queen Arrow. I should call you Queen Arrow.
Hello, Jane. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, of course. And then we also have the Beast. His name is Brian, but you can call him the Beast. The Beast is a gaming ambassador in Africa, also based in Kenya. How are you doing?
I am fine today, and I'm very delighted and happy to be amongst you awesome people. Thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you so much, all of you, to be here with us today to have this amazing discussion. I think it's going to be very, insightful for people who maybe want to, start a career in gaming and also as content creator, maybe as esport athletes. So I have a bunch of questions to ask you, and one of the very first is going to be about your amazing careers and also a career that is viable because all of your endeavors are actually your professional jobs on a daily basis, right? So I want to ask you first this question, which is about how did you manage to convince your parents that this was an actual viable career for you? How did you manage? What was the secret? I think many of us actually want to know. Maybe we can start with you, Queen Arrow.
So how I managed to convince my parents that this was a career is I've always had the motto that it's better to ask for forgiveness rather than permission. And I think this side of the world, actions speak louder than words. So I felt that I had to find a way to make it work, regardless of the obstacles and challenges that came my way. So once I was able to start traveling, get on stuff like the Forbes list, and just to cite some of the highlights of my career, that's when they started to see that maybe there was something here, and they started to give me more leeway to pursue what it is that I wanted, so long as I still focused on my studies.
Yeah. So you actually decided to show them what you are doing and to have them start believing that this could actually be a good path for you. What about you, the Beast? How did it happen for you to actually convince your people to believe that this is a viable career?
Mine was more of the tough love kind of situation. First of all, I was brought up with a single mom, and I grew up in a ghetto as well, so she didn't understand technology, and a lot of people did not understand what gaming was back then. They used to associate it with something we called video, where you just go pay like 2 shillings, sit there, watch movies the whole day. So I had the toughest time explaining to my mom what that was, and she ended up beating me up like every other day. It became part of how I grew up. I was being beaten every other evening when I came back from gaming because we couldn't afford it from home. Fast forward, when I became an adult, I was featured in a newspaper, and when she saw me on the newspaper, she asked, "This is what you've been doing?" And I was like, "Yes, mom, this is what I've been doing." By that time, I already had a beard, and she was like, "Keep up the good work." So,
Keep going.
yeah, keep up the good work.
And you better do it well.
Not even better do it well. She was like, "Just keep up the good work." And in my head, I'm like, you almost killed me. Yeah. That's the journey.
Amazing story. That is actually so inspiring. What about you, Cholwe? What happened for you? You created an actual esports team in Zambia. How did that happen? How did you manage to make it, like an actual career?
Yeah. Mine was a bit similar to both Sylvia and Brian. I grew up in a normal family unit, but then towards my second year, my parents divorced. So I was kind of like left in a position where I was on my own. So I had to like figure out what I wanted to do. And naturally, I've always been a rebel. I've been that girl who's always riding bikes, playing video games, while the other girls are playing with dolls and, stuff like that. So come to uni, when I had to drop out of school because of my parents' divorce, I decided to try and do a business that I would be interested in, but would actually give me life skills that would help me build a profession. I didn't even know what profession I would do. So teamed up with my co-founder, then was referred, I was referred to a startup incubator called Bongo Hive here in Lusaka. And there I went through incubation and acceleration, and they showed me how to run a business, create a business model, and know my persona, really know who I'm serving. So I pivoted a lot between events management and running a team, and settled for running a team first so that I could create impact and then eventually pivot to other things. So that's how the team really started.
It's actually an incredible story. It's all about entrepreneurship for all of you, actually. So because you have all of that amazing experience right now, the goal of the panel is really going to be for you to share, some of your advice to people who might want to do the same, to grow as a gaming or esports content creator or esports athlete. And so I want to start maybe with you, Quinara, if you can like share some of your tips. If you find a player who actually also wants to go pro, where do you think they should start in kind of growing their profile and also their niche?
So the advice I'd actually give anyone who's trying to grow their profile and become a pro is, I'd say they need to have a foundation in the community that they want to become a pro in, be it Call of Duty, be it FIFA, be it Tekken, be it Mortal Kombat, whatever. Point is, you need to have a strong community foundation, because the community is where you'll run to when things get tough, especially if you're trying to improve your skill set. And these are the people who are going to go all the way out in supporting you. And I've seen that with my own career. So community is where it's at, the grassroots is where it's at. And that's something I've come to believe a bit more fervently of late.
Yeah. What would you say, Cholwe, to the players that you actually help grow? What kind of advice do you actually give them when they actually want to go professional?
The advice I actually forgive them is really to look at it more like they're an entertainer, because most people really forget that. Okay, as much as we would like to push esports to quite a sport, yes, it is a sport in certain aspects, but it's more about entertainment. So because of that, I try to encourage them to really think about it as being very well-rounded and dynamic. It's something that I also pointed out to Sylvia when we met at Mzansi Esports Championship. Because you're an entertainer, you really have to figure out how to marry your gameplay with your brand, and try and create a brand that tells a story of how your gameplay is progressing and how your community is also growing as you are personally growing. And so that's what I've really encouraged them to do, because when you the star player really gets that impact, your community also gets growth and impact as well, and your country or your region also gets recognition. And then think opportunities start to open up for almost everyone, not just the players who are at the top. So that's what I usually encourage them to do when they're thinking of going pro. Think about it as you being an entertainer and creating a well-rounded brand around yourself, not just the gameplay.
Okay, so, but do you think it's also, kind of mandatory, and is it necessarily, do you have to be a really good player at what you're doing? Do you have to be really good at your game, to actually even consider becoming pro or not? What is your experience on that, the Beast?
I think it beats the point. The point is to grow with the game, to learn the game. You cannot just be good at the game offset. Even if you're a genius, you have to, make time and play with other people to grow yourself as a player. And I can give my own example. Before I became the beast, everybody used to walk over me until I had to sit down and learn the game. And then I was able to understand how the game works, and in turn, I became unbeatable. It has to be a journey. Otherwise, if you start on top, I think for me, the best part of the journey is that losing part. You know how it feels to lose, So that day you win even once, that happiness. The first time I won, I got second place. I carried the check on my shoulder until I got home. You know that thing they give you when you win? I carried it on my shoulder. That's how it felt after 2 years. So I don't think you have to be good at the game, but you have to be good at learning and ready to learn to become a better player. I think that is what is most important. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because,
that's amazing.
yeah, also games come out every other often, and they have different mechanics in different games. As I said, you are supposed to be an entertainer and be able to play a couple of games. You won't be good at all of them, but if you are a good entertainer from the inside, whatever game you touch, even if you don't know how to play, people will watch because they enjoy watching you and the way you consume and give them the content, rather than how you know how to play the game. Look at
Yeah.
most of the streamers and you'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Take that advice. I want to talk about, of course, growing as a creator, but, getting to the next level. So basically you're working with brands. So I know that for you, Queen Arrow, you've managed to kind of, I know you've been sponsored by Red Bull and you've had other also collaborations. So what were some collaborations, that really worked out for you, and what would you advise to people who also want to get to that part where they actually manage to get brand to work with them?
So I've been fortunate to have my partnership with Red Bull and with Evnia. And I think what they saw in me is someone who had every potential to become a big brand in and out of myself. And, our values were aligned on the same thing. So my advice to people seeking brand partnerships is that not all partnerships are created equal. You have to be aligned with the values of the brand that you want to be in partnership with, because at the end of the day, you need to be able to sleep at night. You need to be able to actually realize that at the end of the day, you have a duty of care to your community. The people who are following you are following you because of who you are, and they see they see a part of themselves in you, and you have a duty of care in return to actually be aligned with partnerships that are actually healthy for the community. Because at the end of the day, if a brand comes into the community and they end up, for lack of a better term, being toxic, that blame will lie on you at the end of the day. So seek out brands whose values are in alignment with yours, and at the end of the day, it's a win-win for the community.
Okay. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So be aligned with yourself and with your community before choosing a brand. Like, actually vet the collaborations that you want to have and make that decision based also on your values. That's actually quite insightful. What about for you, Cholwe? I have a specific question for you because when you work with the players, I want to know about what you advise them in terms of what they should invest in. So my question basically is, where do you think they should invest themselves in? Does it start maybe with the tech that they're going to use? Does it align more with like the visuals? Should they invest more on coaching? Where do you think they should put maybe their money, their efforts to actually grow as creators, as professional players?
So when it comes to the gameplay, I think mostly it's more about adaptability, because the games change. There's always new patches, there's always new characters, but it's more about consistent practice. So what most of our players would do is they would have a specific group of players who they would reconnect with frequently to more like coach each other. and practice with each other. And then some other times they would go online and just do random sets online with the server so that they could experience what it's like to play with other people. Or they could ask for matches with other players, specifically in other countries where the pin is available for them to actually learn more technique. So it's more like throwing yourself in a deep end consistently and adapting to the gameplay of your community. So I think at the end of the day, you can only be as good as your scene in a way. So if you're just like locked to, say, for example, Africa, you reach your peak in Africa. But if you get exposed and you're constantly going to Asia, to the US, to Europe, your technique also evolves because you start to adapt to how other players or how the other communities are also playing the game. So that's how it is when it comes to the technicality of the game. When it comes to the brand, say content creation and streaming, I think it's that one really comes from you wanting it as bad as anyone. Most players in Africa don't want it as bad as most people would expect them to want it. So if you want it, you have to go ahead for it. You have to just grab it by the neck. Start your YouTube channel, be consistent. Start your Instagram, start your TikTok. Create alliances within the community. Create content with other people. Build a story around your gameplay, around your brand. Tell the story of your community and let people attach to that. And that's something that I've consistently admired about Brian and Quinaro, and I've really used that as like a stepping stone to really advise players who are, thinking of starting out as content creators, to say it's not just about your gameplay. You can be the best player on the continent, but if you can't back it up with a brand, no one will know who you are. You'll be it'll be the same as being the best player in your bedroom or amongst your friends. So you really have to be intentional when you're thinking about it, going pro as a content creator and as a player.
Yeah. This is actually, I feel like this really applies to you, the Beast, for your own content. Can you tell us more about maybe some of the examples of what you did, some of your experience that made you realize, okay, this I did really well because this actually made me get where I am today, and maybe some of the experiences that didn't work out so well. What are some of the best practices and maybe some advice that you wouldn't give to people based on your own experience?
I think for me, it's just two: consistency and being authentic. One, I realized I had to be the best of what I wanted to be, which I didn't know then. Then I started gaming and realized, oh, there are people who are better than me, so I need to play and learn how to play and become better. Then when I became a better player, I realized, oh, there's a gap in the community that needs to be filled, whereby there are not so many people who know how to play the game. They don't have connections to where to get the tournaments. They have zero information about what is happening in the gaming world. Then I realized, oh, that is also something. Now that I have the knowledge, I can go and teach the others. So in that, I try to be myself. Like if you see me in the community, I don't walk around like, hey, I made it. No, I'm like, we are laying the foundation stone so that I think maybe our grandchildren or children are the ones who are going to really, really enjoy the esports space. So for me, I feel the work I do right now is to lay that foundation for them. So consistency has done it for me. Like I said, I started going to tournaments as a loser. I came out as a winner, and I realized there was a gap because people stopped coming to tournaments because Beast is coming. For me, that did not make me smile. It gave me pressure because I was like, wait, so because I'm good, there are no people to play with. That's not that's not how it should be. And then somebody say, Beast is the best in Kenya. I'm like, bro, if I go to Europe or US, I'll be number 300. What are you guys talking about? So people couldn't see that. So I took it upon myself to make sure that people see that difference, so that if you play with me and you win, you know what you're doing. If you play with me, I don't let you win. I just make sure you know what you do. So yeah, I've just taken it upon myself to be consistent and authentic in how it worked for me. It's just putting blood, sweat, and tears and doing it every other day, teaching everyone you get to make sure we all grow. Yeah.
one last question for all of you. What would be, maybe a message that you would want to share to the people who basically want to follow your path? Whether as a gaming content creator or as an esports athlete in your countries, there are not many people who can do the same as what you're actually doing. So you're really inspiring many people in your countries and around the world. What would be a quick advice that you would give to people just to wrap up with this discussion? Maybe starting with you, Beast.
Um, Mine is going to be very straightforward because I've been dealing with a lot of youth, and I've been doing campus tours, doing mentorship, and I realize a lot of these youngins don't have that patience to build anything. They want things that happen in a microwave form or sense, if you get it. Like they just want it instantly, and it ends up giving them false ideas and wrong directions to get to where they want to get. Again, I would say if you want to be good at anything, if it's gaming, if it's stream, whatever you want to be good at, you have to put time in it before you start seeing the fruits of it. You have to be
Do the
patient
work.
and be ready to learn. I think I love using the words Bruce Lee used. Become water. And in that sense, be able to learn where you are and fit in. Don't ever be a full cup. Be ready to learn. That's the only way you'll move forward.
Be
That
like
that is
water.
Yes, be like water. Like, we are in Africa, and people, I've realized, want to treat gaming in Africa as if we are abroad, but a lot of things don't work in our favor. So for me, I've made gaming work because I've understood I'm in Africa. And for us to get to the next step, I need to understand first I'm in Africa so that we can grow. So if everybody understood this, our work becomes easier.
Yeah.
So consistency and patience are going to be my 2 words for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Beast. What about you, Cholwe? Very quickly, what would be your advice, your final advice?
So if you want to go be a content creator, be a pro player and grow your brand, you have to start where you are at. So if you have a phone, start with mobile gaming. If you have a PC, start with PC. If you have a console, start with a console. So start with what you have. And then as you're building your brand, building your basically your talent, attach yourself to a community. The reason for this is it's like being a lone wolf. Lone wolves don't survive. You have to be part of a pack. So stick to a community, grow with that community. Then the other thing is, as you're growing with that community, you face a lot of challenges. You're going to face a lot of pushbacks and a lot of failure. Failure is part of the process. Fail as fast as you can all the time. And also, the last but not least, enjoy the process. This is something that
Enjoy and trust.
other generations have never experienced before. Our generation has experienced, the telephone from Nokia to now we're live streaming together on Riverside. So enjoy the process of creating content, enjoy the process of creating history, and yeah, just basically have fun. Do it as a brand, do it as a business, but have fun.
Last but not least, an advice from Queen Arrow herself. What would you say to people who want to follow your path very quickly?
There one piece of advice I'd give people who want to follow the path that I have followed is you need to be kind to yourself. We are the pioneers of this industry, and unfortunately, I think we're more or less working with the. I think I'd even say less than the bare minimum. We are a marginalized region in all aspects of the term, and that days it's going to get really, really tough. But as long as you have your goals, your objectives, and your vision in mind, let that be the reason that you keep pushing and keep moving forward. And I do think in the fullness of time, we will see what an industry that actually works for us and not for third parties who don't give a damn about us.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your wonderful insights today. I was so glad having this conversation with you. Let's go to the very next talk, very next panel. Let's wrap up for now. Thank you so much, and I'll see you later.